actually started on his Twitter yesterday. So as we know, danhooker yesterday came out on his Twitter and said a lot of mean words to Islam, which is really out of character for danhooker. We know he's a good guy and he doesn't use this kind of language, but he accused Islam Makhachev of using an IV prior to his fight with Alexander Volkanovski, and he also said that if Islam wouldn't have taken the IV, he would have lost the fight. And then he went on a rant and saying that USADA is not doing anything. He knows that Islam used IV. So this is an IV which you can use to rehydrate very quickly after you make weight. It is not legal. So in the next slide I'll talk about what USADA thinks. So this is the UFC prohibited list. IV infusions are prohibited in the UFC. All UFC athletes are subject to the UFC prohibited list, which incorporates the WADA prohibited list. So all this I'm just skipping and coming to the what's the IV rule. So it says all IV infusions and or injections of more than 100 ml, which is a 6.8 tablespoons per 12-hour period, are prohibited at all times. So both in and out of competition, except for when you get something from a hospital or some medical practitioner tells you you are legal, like you should take this. So what it says is, if the IV infusion or injection is more than 100 ml, then that is prohibited in a 12-hour period. So in a 12-hour period, the maximum you can take is 100 ml, and that is allowed. So it's not like IV is illegal or anything. It's just that if you take more than 100 ml in a 12-hour period, that is not allowed. So this is, you can see IV, it goes in the elbow right here. So a lot of people are making this as IV is not at all allowed. It's not like that. So in here you can see that it says only if you take more than 100 ml in a 12-hour period, then it is prohibited. So this is the thing. Now let's move on to the next slide. So here are some of the pictures which I got from the internet. So this is Islam while making weight for UFC 284, and as we can see, this part is where you would take your IV. So it's either in the elbow or in the wrist. So people are focusing on the elbow and they're saying, look, there's no vein or anything popping in this picture. So this is when he was making weight. So at this time there's no need to take an IV. After he made weight and he rehydrated himself, they are saying, look, here you can see a vein popping right here, and here also this one. This is what they're talking about. So in the previous picture you can see this is the area where you administer an IV usually. So they're saying, look, here the vein is popping at the exact area. So Islam Makhachev likely used an IV. However, I would say that this is a picture during the fight, and you can see not just this vein but a lot of other veins. So it's just that he is in a fighting stance and he is in a really hard fight for 5 rounds. So it might be that his body is pumped up and his blood flow is going to all these vessels, and because of that you might be able to see this, because these are actual combat, like these are actual fight pics, and this is when he was not fighting. So he could have got a pump just from fighting. That is very possible. Also, I think it's a problem with the lighting and all these conditions, angle, lightning, those things. Here I think I see something like that vein, but the lighting is such that it's not properly visible, where in a fight you have like light coming on from all directions and you can see every little detail in the body. So overall, if you ask me, I think this is not a big deal. Islam is not cheat or anything. I think some people are just making it that way because they likely picked Alexander to win the fight. Let me know what are your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.